1. All right, good evening. I'll call to order a meeting of the Grande City Council regular session for Wednesday, April 7th, 2021, and apologize if you cannot see me. My internet connection is a little wonky this evening, and the best we can hope for is audio from me. You don't need to see my ugly mug anyway. I can get this thing done. All right, so with that, I'll call us to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Steve Clemens?
Yes?
Gary Lillard?
Here.
John Bozart?
Here.
David Glabe?
Here.
Nicole Howard?
Here.
Marianne Miesner?
Here.
Justin Rock?
Here.
Okay. I'm getting a little bit of lag, so we'll proceed with this as best we can. Consent agenda. We have back up to agenda approval. Any changes or anything, Robert, that we need to be aware of?
No, Mayor, there aren't.
Okay. We have consent agenda with one item, and that is approval of the regular session minutes from March 3rd meeting. Could I have a motion on that?
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Steve Clemens?
Yes.
Gary Lillard?
Yes.
John Bozart?
Yes.
David Glabe?
Yes.
Nicole Howard?
Yes.
Marianne Miesner?
Yes.
Justin Rock?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We do have an awards presentation this evening for Community Forestry Volunteer Award, and that's the first item under public comments, and then I'll ask if there are any other elements or any other submissions for public comments. So I believe Teresa will handle this one. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. All right. So Teresa, go ahead. Shoot.
All right. Well, Mr. Mayor, councilors, thanks for having me on your agenda this evening. We didn't actually do community forestry awards. Our volunteer events were really limited because of COVID, but I did just want to share a brief update with you. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I have just a quick PowerPoint presentation. So you'll get to look at pictures.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, everybody can see that all right?
Yes.
Awesome. All righty. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. It's just about 5 minutes, so it won't take too long. So the members of our Community Landscape and Forestry Commission are Leah Spiegel, our chair, Ben Brown, our vice chair, Dave Koch, Robert Henderson, and Tony Smith. And this committed group of people review and recommend urban forestry policy, and they help out with activities throughout the year. And our chair, Leah Spiegel, has served on the commission for over 15 years, and her son Dan has been helping plant trees for almost that long. And tree planting is a key component of a sustainable community forestry program. And our goal is to plant 100 shade trees each year. In 2020, we planted 114 trees and we clocked 98 volunteer hours, which is pretty good since we limited our planting events to the commissioners and their families because of COVID. At 3 years after planting, we do a follow-up check to record the condition of the trees, and we do any structural pruning needed. Of the 117 trees planted in 2017, 95% were in excellent or good condition, 5% were poor or dead. And this percentage was higher than it's been in the past, and those 6 trees were dead or dying from water stress. And unfortunately, as our summers heat up, we might see this trend continue. So regular tree maintenance improves safety and reduces long-term costs. A total of 568 public trees were pruned in 2020, and the street tree clearance pruning was completed in Zone 2. We're currently on track to have one full rotation through the city done by 2022. And that number, that total, doesn't include the trees pruned by OTEC for power line clearance. 44 public trees were removed in 2020, so we planted just over 3 trees for every one removed. And we had 8 commercial tree services licensed with the city in 2020. And 3 of those companies had certified arborists on staff. So that's the most companies with certified arborists to date. So our tree inventory is an important tool for assessing and managing our urban forest. As it stands right now, the stats are 4,908 trees on public property. Of those, 501 are park trees. The good news is we have 55 genera and 158 species represented. The bad news is that 80% of the total number of trees are in just 10 of those genera, and 33% are maples. And this is important because if an invasive pest or disease shows up that targets maples, we could lose up to 1/3 of our trees. So going forward, we need to beef up the numbers in the underrepresented genera and then go on a maple diet, which is tough to do because everybody loves maple trees. In 2020, we switched the public tree inventory to the city's ArcGIS system, which makes it really convenient to compare different overlays like the water system and property boundaries. And the inventory also gives us a good picture of canopy cover, so we can target neighborhoods with low density. Well, unfortunately, because of COVID, our outreach was limited last year. I did get to visit the 4th grade classrooms before the schools closed, and I put together an Arbor Day at Home curriculum for the teachers. We were able to continue the beautification awards to recognize outstanding landscape design and maintenance, and we did both spring and summer awards. We received our 2020 Tree City USA certification, 31 years since 1990. And we also kept up our growth award streak at 29 years. And we got a shout out from the Arbor Day Foundation for top 10 in the nation for number of growth awards. And this year, Governor Brown has proclaimed April as Oregon Arbor Month to recognize the value of trees in our communities. And we're once again doing the poster contest with the 4th and 5th graders. And you can see those posters at the library. They're going to be on display throughout April. Instead of a field day with the students this year, we'll be doing tree plantings at each campus. And I'll send you those dates if you'd like to participate. We are back in business for our Spring Community Tree Planting Day with our Grow Grande volunteers. And that day will be Saturday, April 24th from 9 to noon. No donuts this year, but still a great opportunity to join us and Grow Grande. Thank you for your time today. If you'd like a written copy of our community forestry report with a bit more detail, I can provide it for you. And happy Arbor Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Would you send a reminder of that April 24th date out to at least to me,
Yep.
so they have something to
I
think
will
about.
do that. Also,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you if you had gotten a chance to sign the Arbor Month proclamation, because we do need that.
I signed something. I'm not sure. I've signed a few things lately, but I haven't seen anything in my. Well, I'm not in town, so I haven't seen anything in my box.
I'll check with
last week.
Sheila. I'll check.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yep. All right. Robert, I'm froze up here, so we'll see what happens. Okay. Anything else for public comments?
We did not receive any written public comments. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Moving on, then we have one item under public hearings. This is a public hearing to consider final local improvement district assessments. And I will open the public hearing and ask Kayla to read the rules of order in their entirety.
These rules of order are applicable to the public hearing for considering the 2019 Sidewalk Local Improvement District 19-064. This is a legislative hearing, therefore counselor ex parte or pre-hearing contact does not apply. The hearing will proceed as follows. The mayor will open the public hearing and request a staff report. The mayor will then accept written public testimony relating to the matter. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, only written testimony will be accepted and shall be read into the record during the hearing. There is a 3-minute time limit for testimony. The order of testimony this evening will begin with that of proponents, followed by opponents, and ending with those neutral to the ordinance being adopted. The meeting will be available for viewing via the city's scheduled charter communications channel 180, beginning at 6:00 p.m. on April 7th, 2021, on the LaGrande Alive website at lagrandealive.tv/city-events/ or on the Eastern Oregon Alive TV Facebook page at facebook.com/EOAliveTV. The notice of this public hearing required that any persons that wanted to submit written comments or questions in advance of the meeting had until 5:00 p.m. on Tuesday, April 6, 2021 to submit them to Kyle Carpenter via email at kylecarpenter@cityoflagrande.org. The proceedings are being electronically recorded to be converted to written minutes. Members of the City Council may ask questions of the staff at any time. Subsequent to deliberation, the mayor will close the public hearing.
Okay, so we need a staff report, and I suspect that's Kyle.
Correct. Mr. Mayor, councilors, this is the first reading of the ordinance to accept the assessments for the LID that we numbered 19-064. So we accepted the staff report in the last meeting, which is attached in your packets. It has a total of assessments of $14,000.75. This is a program where local citizens can replace sidewalks, driveways, any of the right-of-way pertinences that are made out of concrete using a city hired contractor. We then, they make payments on those after these are assessed. So by accepting this, we'll have the finance department start assessing those fees for the construction that was completed in the past 2 years. And we did not receive any written notifications of comments to be given before the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. So that negates me having to ask if there are any public comments. Questions or discussion for Kyle on this item? Anything from council? All right. Then the public hearing will be continued at the May 5th meeting, at which time the ordinance is scheduled to be read by a second time by title only. And at that point, we will vote for adoption. If there's no other council comments, I would like the city recorder to read the proposed ordinance for the first time by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, establishing the final assessments of the property determined to be specifically benefited by the 2019 citywide voluntary sidewalk local improvement district number 19-064 and declaring an effective date.
All right, thank you. And again, we will come back to this matter at our meeting in May. We'll have a second reading of the title, and then we'll vote. We have no items of unfinished business. We have 5 items of new business. The first one is to consider a resolution initiating the vacation proceedings and establishing a public hearing for said vacation. So that's a Mike Boquist land use element. So take it over, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is kind of a routine request for this meeting for you guys. It's a vacation of right-of-way, essentially 10 feet on the west side of the street's kind of messed up. It's Walnut Street. I guess it used to be called Wallowa at some point, but it's the west side, 10 feet between Lane and I think it's Benton on the north side. All the road names are kind of messed up, but anyway, it's a kind of a vacant section of right of way. It's kind of incorporated into the yards of all of these properties. The property owner has some at 2906 Walnut has some development plans, and this additional 10 feet would benefit them greatly. And if you look at the bottom of the map on the council action form, if you kind of the next block to the south has already been vacated 10 feet. So this is kind of an extension of a vacation that was done a number of years ago to the south. But anyway, if you support this request, deem the application complete, it will be forwarded to the Planning Commission for consideration at their May meeting, and then come back to you in June and July for an ordinance consideration. And the application is required, or the applicant is required to get signatures from 66% or 2/3 of the property owners that are within a fairly significant area. That's roughly 400 and some feet wide by 800 and some feet long. And they have to get 2/3 of all of those property owners to sign a consent form. And they've hit the 75% mark on those signatures. So they have a complete application. So anyway, if you support this proposal moving forward, then I'd ask for you to, I guess, approve the resolution. Do you have any questions?
Okay. I have no questions. Anything for Mike?
Just a quick question, Mike. Why does the old name persist on the plat maps? Just curious.
I think it's there's all kinds of stuff on the plat maps. I think it's a historical record, and the county assessor keeps all that stuff on there for that piece of history. And it's kind of the same thing when you look at the map. There's all those dashed lines in there. Those are old property boundaries that were part of the original plat that theoretically still exist for legal description purposes, and so it's a piece of history.
Kind of interesting. And that should be of interest to our counselor Howard, because she is a historian, so I can appreciate that.
That's the question.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions for Mike? Mike, my only question is: have there been any public testimony for this
there's
element?
not. Yeah, there's not. This is actually not a public hearing, so we wouldn't have it at this stage. But we'll certainly be getting public notice out for the Planning Commission, and then your June consideration. And then Mary Ann was raising her hand, but Steve. So.
All right. I don't see her on the screen, so I just go ahead, Mary Ann. But if people want to raise their hand, they can do it in the participant list, and I can see that part of it. So go ahead, Mary Ann. Sorry.
Okay. Mike, I noticed there's a block beyond that, the one that is to the bottom of our screen. Looks like it's already had a vacation. Is that true? Because it looks like it's wider.
Yeah, to the south, it's been vacated 10 feet around the entire block, just about. Yeah, so this request is consistent with what the city has approved previously on that other block to the south. Are there any other blocks up there that you think will be coming in for asking for vacations, or have we vacated a lot of it already? Not right away. So that was one of the requests that I had. This property owner, they actually went before they got signatures. They kind of canvassed the neighborhood to see how many signatures they'd be able to get for other participants. And part of the challenge with doing the right-of-way vacation, just so you kind of have some background, is the water meters and some of that public infrastructure is located at the current property lines. And so through this vacation, that property line is getting moved out 10 feet. And so if there's any water meters within that vacated area, part of the cost of doing the right-of-way vacation is those folks have to work with Public Works and relocate those water meters so they stay in the right-of-way. And so this applicant did, canvass the neighborhood, try to get some other folks to participate to make these right-of-ways more consistent, but it affected more folks, and the cost to move right-of-ways was something that those folks were not interested in order to gain 10 feet. So I don't expect anything to come in anytime soon, but you never know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? All right. Since no questions, I'm assuming there's no discussion. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the proposed resolution initiating vacation proceedings and establishing a public hearing date be read by title only, put to a vote and passed.
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Additional comments or discussion? Kayla, could you read the proposed resolution by title only, together with the portion of the resolution established? Go ahead.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of LeGrande, Union County, Oregon, accepting a petition for the vacation of the west 10 feet of the Walnut Street right-of-way between Benton Avenue and Land Avenue and establishing a public hearing date.
And I need, okay, do we need to put the date in there? Or is that to be determined?
The date's actually in the resolution, I think further down, I think.
Okay.
I don't see it in there, but you might just add that in there as put the date in there just to be safe, but I don't know if it's necessary. I took this off of a previous resolution, so.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So we've got a reading of the resolution. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Steve Clemens,
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozarth,
Yes.
David Glade,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Miesner,
yes.
Justin Rock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The second item of new business is a resolution. Let me make sure I'm on the right page here. Resolution to consider or establishing fees for the ambulance service. Chief Cornford was going to make the presentation, but my understanding is he's out on a fire. So Robert will handle this presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. So the council met in a work session, and that was on the 8th of March, and Chief Cornford kind of walked through the proposed changes. We have not increased our ambulance fees since 2009, and the cost of doing business, as everyone knows, continues to go up. In your packet, you have the resolution that lays out the fees, and it brings it online with other similar jurisdictions. A couple of key points to this. One is it will implement a new structure that acknowledges the financial support that city residents pay through property taxes by establishing essentially a discount, so a lower rate for fees for city residents as compared to services provided outside the city limits. In the case of those on Medicare and Medicaid, we have very strict limits on what can be assessed and collected. So for those that I think we feel are kind of the most vulnerable to increases, it would not impact them in that regard, and wanted to emphasize that. And be happy to answer whatever questions that you may have. I think it's a pretty reasonable increase, and it's about on par if we'd have been increasing it about at the CPI over this time anyway. And it would take effect 1st of July.
Okay, any questions for Robert on this we asked a bunch of questions, I remember, during the work session, as appropriate for work session, to get some clarity on this element. But it never hurts to ask them again. So go ahead if there's any questions from council. Robert, did we have any public testimony on this element?
We did not, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. All right, no council discussion. How about a motion?
I move that the proposed resolution establishing fees for the ambulance and fire service be read by title only, put to a vote, and passed.
Second.
Do I have a second?
I just did, Steve. Nicole.
Okay, additional discussion. Okay, thank you. There's a little bit of a lag, but so I apologize. Any other comment or discussion? So if not, Kayla, could you read the proposed resolution by title only, please?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of LeGrande, Union County, Oregon, establishing fees for ambulance and fire services and repealing resolution number 4552, series 2009, and all other resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith.
All right, so we've got a motion and second, a reading of the resolution by title. Roll call vote, please.
Steve Clements,
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozarth,
Yes.
David Glade,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Miesner,
Yes.
Justin Rock.
Yes. Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Okay, good. Third item on new business is considering the, I'm sorry, wait a second. Okay, yes. I almost jumped to the distribution of a vehicle, but this is to consider approving a hiring incentive for qualified police candidates. Chief Bell, could you give us a report?
Certainly. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. The Police Department is requesting approval to offer a hiring incentive of up to $6,000 to certified experienced police officers hired for the position of police officer. The purpose of this incentive is to attract and hire experienced officer candidates in an effort to replace some of the experience that we've lost with the high number of retirements over the last several years. Any initial training of a police officer with experience is substantially shorter, allowing them to contribute to covering shifts much quicker than hiring officers with no experience. The time and related cost to train a new officer with experience is substantially, without experience is substantially higher than the $6,000 hiring incentive that we're proposing. We've received support from the LeGrande Police Association to move forward with this. In the March council regular session, the city council discussed this, and we have been advertising for the police officer position with the incentive included, with the understanding that the city council, if the city council does not approve the incentive, the advertising will be revised. Specifically, the incentive would be distributed over the course of 3 separate installments. The applicants who commit and are qualified would receive, upon successful completion of field training and designation by the city as qualified for assignment to solo officer status, they would receive $2,000. Upon successful completion of probationary status and 12 months of continuous service, whichever occurs last, they would receive an additional $2,000. And upon completion of 30 months of continuous satisfactory service, they would receive the remaining $2,000 for a total of $6,000. The proposed hiring incentive has been included in our requested fiscal year 21-22 budget. Included in the hiring incentive to fill future vacancies will be, this will be on a case-by-case basis as determined by the city manager. Qualified officers will be required to enter into an agreement that outlines these requirements and will be binding upon the city and the individual employees. Do you have any questions about this?
Questions for Chief Bell? Looks like Gary's got his hand up.
Yeah, Chief.
Go ahead.
This is, yes, this has already been tried in one advertising cycle. Did you notice any differences? Was there enough opportunity to make some opinions, arrive at some opinions about how it's working out?
Yeah, we were advertising with a first review of applications on April 2nd, the end of day, April 2nd. And as of today, we have not received a single application that would be a qualifier for this incentive. So unfortunately, up to now, no, but the application is still open. So the incentive could potentially still, pay off for us, if you will. But so far, no, we have not received the benefit that we were hoping for.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Gary, do you feel that the amount is not high enough? That maybe that is why the incentive isn't working, or?
That's a good question, Counselor. I don't know the answer to the question. I've talked to a lot of other chiefs around the state. Some agencies are doing this, some with results, some without, based upon the number of applications and the qualifications of experienced officers that we've received in the past. I felt like, it was certainly worth a try. I felt like let's start with a $6,000 incentive and see how that goes, and then make an adjustment if we felt it was prudent to do so. But I just don't know. I mean, the truth is that money alone is not a reason for some people to relocate. So people have to have a reason to want to be here and make their home here and work here anyway. But if they're thinking about Eastern Oregon or Northeast Oregon, the idea was, can we attract people here based upon that incentive? And, I'm in the process of gathering information. I'm 100% supportive. I think this is the right thing to do to see if it works. But I feel like it's a little early for me to make any conclusion type statements for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were comparing us to other cities, are our pay schedule equivalent to theirs that you were comparing us to, or?
Are you talking specifically about the hiring incentive or the pay and benefits package as a whole?
Yeah, the benefit package as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, Robert and I have talked a lot about this. That's a really complex equation, quite frankly, because it's really difficult to compare apples to apples because, all communities are not the same, even like-sized communities. And if you look at just pay, that's not the entire story. You have to add in all of the additional benefits and to get a real accurate number. But that is something that we're paying close attention to. And I don't know if you remember, but just this last year, we settled a contract with the Police Association. So it will be an additional 2 years before that contract expires. But between now and then, we'll definitely be analyzing, what's in the best interest of the city and the association.
And then I just have one more question, and that is, you said it would, if you hired somebody with experience, it would cut down the time that they could go solo. How much time are you talking about?
Yeah, certainly. So if we hire a person as a police officer with no experience, the basic police academy, which is a requirement, is 16 weeks long, so 4 months there. And then our what we call FTEP, field training and evaluation program, that's the local in-house training. That's another 3 to 4 months. So you're looking at in the neighborhood of 8 months before a police officer with no prior experience is going to require before we can actually have them out by themselves covering a shift. If we hire someone who is already certified, or they in the state of Oregon, or if they come to us from another state with equivalent certification, then we have there's no police academy time. So that takes the 4 months of training right off the top. And then we still do field training so that, they learn our policies and our procedures and the way we do things here. But oftentimes, I mean, that could be, anywhere from 2 to 3 months, if not less.
Okay, that's significant time though. Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind, I'll also add to that there's another significant factor about the value of experienced officers, aside from just getting them out on the street quicker or earlier, and that is that once they're actually covering a shift and taking calls for service, then we also have that experience level. So a new police officer, even after they're done with training and they're out on their own, they just require a lot more support than somebody that has been doing the job for a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions for Chief Bell? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that, and good luck with this program. Seems like a reasonable thing to try out. Might be worthwhile having a report back and after the next advertising cycle. Just doesn't need to be a big deal, but an email to council might be appropriate to know if you're getting any hits off of it.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion for this item.
I move that the city manager's recommendation to offer a hiring incentive for qualified police officer candidates be approved as presented.
Second.
Additional discussion? If not, I'll have a roll call vote, please.
Steve Clemens,
Yes?
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozart,
Yes.
David Glade,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Mary Ann Meisner,
Yes.
Justin Rock.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The fourth item of new business is to consider the transfer of ownership of another police department. So, Chief Bell, you're on again.
All right. The police department no longer is in need of this police car due to the recent purchase of a 2021 Dodge Durango police vehicle. The surplus vehicle that we're looking to transfer has just under 112,000 miles on it. The vehicle is no longer reliable nor cost effective for our use due to the extreme demands of our use and the 24-hour-a-day use that our police vehicles get. The City of Nyssa Police Department previously identified they were interested in ownership of a surplus vehicle as a donation to supplement their vehicles that they currently have if we had one come available. When this vehicle becomes surplus property, we contacted Nyssa PD and confirmed that they still have this need and desire. Do you have any questions for me?
My only question I have, Chief, is are they aware of the condition of the car and they're willing to accept it the way it is?
They are. And
okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay. That's any other questions? We have any public testimony on this item?
We do not.
Okay. If there are no questions for Chief Bell, then I'll consider a motion.
Pursuant to Section 9 of Ordinance Number 2962, Series 2000, I move that the 2013 Ford Interceptor police car be declared surplus and the ownership be transferred to the City of Nyssa.
Second.
Second? Okay. Got a second from Gary. Additional comments? If not, a roll call vote, please.
Steve Clemens,
Yes?
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bogart,
Yes.
David Glade,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Miesner,
Yes.
Justin Rock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The fifth and final element, or item for new business is to consider allocating some of the current COVID-19 loan program funding to Community Connections to provide grants for people to pay utility bills. And before I ask for the staff report, I will say that Gary Lillard and Robert and I had some email exchanges around this issue. And after I learned a bit more about it, I asked Robert to put it on it as an agenda item so that council could have a fuller understanding of what was being requested and why, and how the funds would be used. So with that, I'll ask Robert for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So members of council, one of the things that we know is occurring, and just not during the pandemic, but on an ongoing basis, is need for assistance with utility bills. And one of the things that we have an opportunity to do is to provide some assistance through Community Connections. And I'm not positive about this yet because we haven't seen the regulations that are attached to the ARP funding that the city is going to receive. But I would venture a pretty supportive guess that we would actually be able to count this money as an allowable use against the federal funds that we're going to be receiving. And even if we can't, we do have dollars that we had allocated for the loan program that are unused. We have it's about $185,000 that has not been used from the loan program. It's city general fund dollars that we are asking to provide to Community Connections. It's an up to amount, and this would run through the rest of this fiscal year. The uses would be restricted to City of LeGrand residents, and they would have to meet the criteria that Community Connections has in place for providing this type of support. And it's similar to agreements that they have with some other municipalities for providing this type of financial assistance. And just really think that this would be a good opportunity to provide some much needed help in a pretty extraordinary set of circumstances for our community, and happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Questions for Robert or Gary? John, go ahead.
Thank you. Has anybody reached out to Avista or OTEC about any programs they might have to supplement these type of programs? I'm all for this thing, and I'm going to vote for it. But I think that those two companies have a heck of a lot more disposable funds than we have.
Yeah, I haven't talked to, thanks for the question, John. I haven't talked to them recently. They were both mandated not to do turnoffs for a period of time by the state. I think that requirement has been lifted. And I think both of them provide some level of assistance. I just couldn't speak specifically to what it is. And I know that Community Connections also has access to some dollars towards those types of bills that can be used in certain circumstances.
Well, I'd sure like to know what their program is, both of them. With the program that we're initiating here, say if somebody is in dire need of paying their utility bill, why couldn't the utility company pay half and we pay half, or something along those lines? Like I say, they've got a lot more disposable funds than we have, and I'm just curious about it. Maybe that's something that Community
Marianne, I
Connections,
see you have your hand up.
maybe it's something Community Connections could check and come back and let us know. It's their program.
I'm
Could
jotting
you look
some
into
notes
that?
down.
Okay,
Sure.
okay.
Thank you.
Mary Ann, questions?
Yeah, Robert, you mentioned something about the federal money. Is that the money
Yeah.
coming from the county?
No,
Okay, that's
no,
different.
this is, so with the ARP funding, the city of LeGrand is tentatively going to receive in 2 installments a total of about $2.7 million of federal funding that has to be used for COVID-19 related purposes. And we're expecting that some of those uses will be fairly similar to what we got through the state for the CARES program.
Okay.
But they have not issued the federal regulations that define exactly what you can and cannot do. And so until we have that, I can't definitively answer what they will or won't do. And once we get those regulations, we'll start taking a look at what are the qualifying uses. I think that, one of the things that we know those can be used for is to backfill lost revenues as a result of the pandemic. So an example of that would be we suffered a revenue hit by not having our parks, aquatics, and recreation programs. We took a revenue hit for not having transient room tax dollars coming in. We took a revenue hit for gas tax. So we can go back to the 2019 as our base year and look at our revenue reductions, and we can use part of those dollars towards replenishing what we lost. There are other uses. It specifically talks about water and sewer infrastructure. It does not talk about roads. It talks about broadband as uses. But again, the rules for that aren't there. And it talks about providing support to the community using those dollars. So I'm pretty sure that this would fall into that. And so we would just count that against the accounting that we have to do for that $2.7 million ish.
So you're proposing that this 20,000 come out of the money from the COVID loan program right now that was part of the CARE program?
Well, that's not part of the CARES program. That is city general fund dollars.
Our money, okay.
I
just wanted to make sure I had the funds right.
Yeah, no, those are just city general fund dollars that we allocated. We had budgeted for COVID support. We haven't seen the demand for the loans. So this would be another use to provide a different type of support to city residents as opposed to the loan program.
Okay, thank you. And have we heard anything about the county money? Wasn't there money coming to the county that they were supposed to disperse to the cities?
Not to the city of LeGrand, and when we get to the county commissioner report, Commissioner Scarfo could probably talk to that.
Okay, so Matt will talk to that, right, Mr. Scarfo? Okay. Thank you.
All right, I see Gary had his hands up. Go ahead, Gary. Go ahead.
Yeah, Robert, can you brief us on where things stand with the city as far as water accounts and shutoffs?
And let me see if Heather is on. She would have better information on that, can give you some actual numbers. So Heather?
Yes. So we currently only have 2 people off out of the 60 people that we had turned off. 2 only remain off, and I believe one of them looks like a vacant home. So they've either paid in full or we've set up payment arrangements, which we had 2 separate types of payment arrangements. If they were affected by COVID, their employment was, we gave them 6 months to pay their past due balance. in installments. And with those installments, they were also to pay their current bills so they wouldn't get further and further behind. And then if employment was not affected by COVID, they were to pay anything that was over 120 days past due. And the remaining past due would be paid back in installments for 3 months with their current bill. So we've done pretty good. Turn-off day actually went very smooth. We did it in 2 days, and it went way better than anticipated.
Good, thank you.
Good.
The reason I was asking about this is because when this topic came up during the March 24th meeting of the Senior Council, they had mentioned that water bills were one of the issues they were facing, and that some of them had been quite large. So it wasn't just a Vista or OTEC. Apparently, we were playing a part in that problem as well. So thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Robert on this item? Robert, any public testimony to read?
No, thank you.
All right. If there's no additional discussion or comments from counselors, questions from counselors, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, Steve, I think that David had his hand up.
David, did you have a question?
Well, I guess I was just going to try and get a sense of how far this is going to carry. I have an idea of what my water bill is every month, but, do we have a sense of, how many residents this is going to cover for, how far that 20,000 is going to stretch and it sounds like we're just assigning that 20,000 flat. Do we have a limit on that? And if it's unspent, are those dollars returned to the city fund? Those were just a couple of questions I had there.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed you, David. So go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, in talking to Margaret Davidson, $20,000 she think would probably last 2 to 3 months in terms of providing assistance, which kind of meshes nicely with our fiscal year. We can take a look at what the program looks like and also what the rules are on the federal dollars, and then make a decision whether or not this is something that we want to continue. And I think it'll getting a little bit of information of exactly how it was used, because one of the things that I know we can't do under the CARES money, if we had used CARES money to provide this assistance, is we could not limit it to only city water and sewer bills, because that would essentially be us paying ourselves with those dollars. By doing it in this fashion where it can be used for any utilities, I think it removes that restriction. But we're expecting 2 or 3 months worth of assistance to residents, and then we can reevaluate.
Now, thanks for asking that question, Dave. I think it was important. I think that was one of the elements that I recall in the email exchange between Gary and Robert and I, was that connection with Margaret Davidson and her estimate of what she thought she needed over the next few months. So thanks for that. Any other questions? All right. How about a motion? Anyone?
I move that we direct the city manager to allocate $20,000 of current COVID-19 loan program funding to Community Connections to provide need-based grants to pay utility bills for City of Grande residents, and to authorize the city manager to develop and sign all required documentation to implement the program.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Additional comments, discussion? Okay, could I have a roll call vote then, please?
Steve Clemens,
Yes?
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozart,
Yes.
David Glade,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Miesner,
Yes.
Justin Rock. Motion carried.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
I'll find out the information about what OTEC and Avista do for their programs, and I'll get that emailed out to the council as well.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Robert. Thank you. That ends our formal business for the evening. Next item on the agenda is Union County Commissioners update. And this is an item that we added to our council agenda to give a formal place, sort of, if you will, to the county commissioner assigned to our community, Matt Scarfo. So with that, I will turn it over to Matt, and hopefully you can address some of Mary Ann's questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and city councilors. Good evening. I will start with that since Councilor Meisner did bring that up. So it's the American Rescue Plan funding. I did receive the state funding allocations from Congressman Bentz's office, and I forwarded off to all the mayors in Union County. And what City Manager Stroke did mention was Elgin will be receiving $2.7 million, and every other city will be allocated allotment. And we have not received the instructions yet on how to spend it. So we're waiting on that. The county itself received may receive 5.2 million. The check is in the mail. We haven't seen it yet, but so there will be, they say there will be two payments of the 5.2 million. And as a total for Union County, countywide for all the cities, the county will be receiving $9.3 million through the American Rescue Plan.
Wow.
That's coming. Yeah, it's substantial amounts of money. But right now we have no idea how we're going to be able to spend it. That's the $9.3 million question, if you would. Did that help you out, Marianne?
It did. Thanks, Matt.
Okay. And then if there's any other questions on that, we do have a meeting on Friday with AOC, Association of Oregon Counties. I don't know if LOC is going to be doing the same. I don't know if there's going to be more information on how this money can be spent. We'll find out then. Like City Manager Stroke mentioned, I could guess pretty good on how it will be, how we will be able to spend it, but it's still a guess. Moving on, a lot of you probably already knew that our last time period through COVID cases, we did hit 42 cases, which will keep us in moderate. We were doing very well the first week of the 2-week period, but then as a lot of people know, last week was kind of a quarterly testing week, and it's almost like a nationwide, a lot of big businesses, colleges, they do their testing, and it just happened to be after spring break, which was really convenient. But I think we did fairly well with the amount of testing we did last week, and we stayed at 42. If we would have had three more cases, we would have had 45, and we'd had to go to the higher risk level, which we do not want to go. So 42, Carrie Brigiotti and I, we talk a lot about these cases, and I really wish we could maybe get around 33 so I could sleep better at night. That would help out a bunch for my sleep habits. And the governor has also started to change the risk levels a bit. It took me a while to figure out what this new one meant, but if the state stays under 300, okay, follow me here. If the state stays under 300 COVID patients in hospitals and does not have a 15% increase in hospitalization for a 7-day period, there is no extreme risk level. So if you have, say ours, if we go over 60 cases, we have 61 cases, that means we have to go to the extreme risk level. But we don't if the state as a whole has less than 300 hospitalizations and not a 15% increase in hospital rates for a 7-day period. Yeah, it took me a little bit also. So so vice versa. So they're really working on eliminating the extreme risk level, which means closure, which I do appreciate. They're trying to get rid of close for restaurants and the like. Oh yeah, the 2-week period starting for the moderate is the 9th, and it will go through the 23rd. So we do have 2 weeks of staying in moderate. Hopefully our cases will continue to be minimal. Maybe we get down to that lower category. That'd be fantastic. On the vaccine front, we have plenty of openings. I talked to Kerry Brajati this afternoon. We have 250 openings for the next 2 Mondays. So I know that it's 18 older with underlying health conditions, but at this point, if you need one, please call CHD. We need to get these filled. And I know some people have been waiting for the Johnson & Johnson shot. There will be Johnson & Johnson shots available, and we may not see them again for a while. I think it's due to the fact that they had to throw away so many that were in bad shape, I guess. So if you could pass that word along to your constituents, say, that Johnson & Johnson shots will be available, and we do have 250 openings. Please see it fit to go down and get vaccinated if you want to. So this is the time. There is rumors that if we're not using them, we're losing them. So please contact CHD with any questions or comments on that. I did send calendar dates for our meetings. We're still having our commissioner meeting. It's via Zoom. I invite all of you to join. We have public comment. Everything's status quo. We're working on getting back to in-person. So hopefully you guys got all of the dates for our commissioner meetings. And let's see, oh yeah, and the big news, especially in LeGrande, the rock quarry was supposed to come in front of the commissioners this morning, but the application was pulled. I'm sure everyone heard that. So there is no action on the rock quarry at all. And I will take any questions.
Questions for Commissioner Scarfo?
Matt, what happened? Did anything happen to your letter that you guys submitted to the state for the union, for the county to take control of our cases and so forth?
Yes, the governor did reply, and I believe it was on Alcor Media Group. I don't have it in front of me. I don't want to misquote the governor, but she said, yes, we're going to work on it. She said she'll give her 3 weeks because she had 71 executive orders that she had to start unwinding. So in 3 weeks pretty much comes at the end of our next 2 week period. So maybe this will be the last bit we see of the risk levels. I don't know. I did hear a word where, with California saying that they're going back to 100% starting June. We may start hearing some of the governor's plan in that direction. I did mention this scenario. I did talk to Director Allen maybe it's a month ago now, about why local control is so important. Is we're just a bunch of case numbers to them over there. They don't know exactly what's happening here. When I was on the phone with him, we were borderline going to go into high category, and he asked me where are your cases coming from. I said, well, it was Elgin High School, and Elgin High School had taken care of it themselves. They shut the school down. They handled it properly. And but for that, it almost shut all of our restaurants down. I don't see the connection of having a high school cases go up and all the restaurants have to close. So that's where, on a local level, between public health, Kerry Brajati, emergency management, the hospital commissioners, and help with city councilors like yourself, good communication, I believe we can make our own decisions and very good decisions.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, thanks for that work, Matt. I mean, getting them to pay attention more to the nuances of the numbers rather than just sticking to the metrics would be good. David, I see you have your hand.
Oh yeah, it's not defying the governor at all. If you read the letter, we're still asking for their help. We're not just going to open 100%. So that's, a lot of people thought we were just trying to rebel against them, and that wasn't not the case at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, Commissioner Scarfo, I mean, with regard to the comments that you made on, vaccines that we have available in the community, I guess I'm a little bit concerned. In my line of work, obviously, I'm in the medical field. I visit with patients all day long, and I'm impressed at the number of people we have in our community who are not wanting to receive the vaccine largely because of misinformation. And I worry that that's going to be a persistent issue here for quite some time yet. And I wonder if there can't be some type of coordinated effort in the county, in the city, maybe involving, Kerry Berjordi, maybe Jeremy Davis at Grand Ronde. We can get the CEO of Grand Ronde involved, and at least trying to mount some sort of a campaign of information that is based and grounded in medical science. And I respect somebody's decision to make a medical decision on their own. That's a personal decision. But I worry that sometimes these are uneducated personal decisions or decisions that are being made without perhaps a full knowledge of the potential benefits of vaccination. So I'm just curious, I mean, has there been any effort, or has there been any discussion about maybe a local information campaign? I know the state's been doing its own thing, and certainly on a national level, but I wonder if it wouldn't have more meaning locally.
Yeah, I do know that public health is doing the best they can, and like you hit, the screen keeps changing. You hit the nail on the head there. It's not just a Union County issue; it's state, federal, almost worldwide issue. The vaccination topic is always going to be a difficult one, and we're never going to get 100%. Even with the flu vaccine, yeah. If we get to 70%, I will be shocked. But I don't have an answer for you, Councilor Glebe. I wish I did, but yeah, I think there is a lot of rumors and miscommunication going around about the vaccine. Like, you can't stop that.
I wonder if there's a way for maybe councilors or the county commissioners to be public about our own vaccination. I, for one, would be happy to, take a stick on camera and say, yeah, I'm a city councilor, I'm getting the vaccine. Track me on your GPS, whatever you want to say. And if we could put ourselves out there as models, I'm happy to do that. If the commissioners would do that, I think it'd go a really long way toward, disabusing some of the mythology around these things. I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, it's a national problem, but I think, 50% of like staff in some Baker medical facilities are not doing it. So we could certainly try to model something to do better. And maybe you can also incentivize vaccination rewards, right? You get local businesses, you get a free beer at side A if you show your vaccine card. Boom. Benchies can give you a side of fries if you show your vaccine card. I mean, I don't want to start down the path of vaccine passports only because I think it's such a great idea and it's not mine. But I do think that we could do a lot as sort of faces of the leadership in this community to try to encourage people to do this, because herd immunity is good for our economy. There's no two ways about it.
Yep. As of right now, let's just try to get the 250 empty appointments filled and get the word out that 18 and older, if you want a vaccine, let's go this Monday or next Monday. That will help. We don't want to send those vaccines back. I don't want anyone if someone wants a vaccine, I don't want them getting looked over.
Yeah, good point. I think Nicole had a good idea. I think Matt's right. Somehow or other, we got to get the message out there, a really solid science-based message. I've had at least one shot. Looking forward to my next one, and then the 2 weeks afterward, feeling a lot more confirmed about my immunity. So I don't know who to turn to, but if there's somebody in the community that is willing to put together that kind of an public service announcement, I'd be glad to step up for a recording part of that. Anything else to add, Matt, before we let you go? You hearing me out there?
Yep. Yeah, we got you. No, I think I covered everything unless there's any other questions.
Am I coming through? Hello?
You're getting a little bit broken up that last time there, Steve.
Okay. Nope. All right. Staff comments? Okay, thanks for that, Robert. Staff comment.
Sure, I'll kick in. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right, cool. I just wanted to announce that our Parks Master Plan survey has kicked off. We're doing a media campaign right now.
Yep,
So
gotcha. Go ahead.
encouraging people to take the online big projects, programs, little projects, etc. So it's on our Facebook page. I think police and public works and everybody shared it. It's also on our website. It's all over the media. So please encourage others and also take the survey yourself. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Stu. I got booted there a second ago, and then I had to come back in. Any other staff comments?
I have a couple things to report on. Mr. Mayor and Council, first of all, I am thrilled to say that one of our 2008 call for projects, the Putnam Building, received their certificate of occupancy today. And so we will be working through the closeout period on that grant. Dale Mammon has invited any counselors that would like to come tour that building to set up a time to meet with him. And Robert, I don't know if you want to try to do that as a few small groups or if your preference would be individually. But Dale did extend that invitation to the whole council.
Good. Thank you for that, Christine.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes. Oh, I remember what it was. Sorry.
Okay.
So we are moving forward with our business retention and expansion survey project. We have some really good data from that. We currently have 117 surveys that have been submitted, and we will be, the one challenge that we had was we only had a few of our major employers submit a survey. And so I'm working with Commissioner Beveridge to do individual outreach to those businesses that we've identified that we would really like to hear from. So we're in that process right now. And then we'll be working through an interview process with them that will most likely not be part of this project, but will continue on into the future.
Okay, good.
Yep,
Thanks for that. Anything else? Any other staff comments?
Looks like Kyle wants to talk.
Kyle?
I'll go.
Yep, I see him.
All right, we gotta catch you up on major projects. So road reconstruction, 2nd Street from Adams Avenue to Spring. So this would be, Yaya Nikki's up to the hill.
Yay!
Yeah, that's what you say today. For the next 2 months, you'll be hearing a lot of boos and anger because we're shutting down a pretty major thoroughfare. So starting Monday, the road will be closed at Spring and 2nd to Washington and 2nd. We're going to start digging up the pavement. We're going to be replacing the 18-inch water main that runs through there at the same time so that we can preserve the newly constructed street for years to come. And you guys will probably start hearing about it. We've had we did have a public meeting. We've tried to keep them informed with door hangers. We've been in the paper, Elkhorn Media, and of course on social media. So I don't know what else to do. We can inform people. We seem to have a pretty good group of people around the project. Pretty excited. We're just going to move forward. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Thanks, Kyle. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah. First of all, very glad to hear about this. 2nd Street has needed some help for quite a while, and that's great to hear. There's also a section from probably about N Avenue to at least K, very near the high school, and it's terrible, absolutely terrible. Wondering when there might be some action on that section.
So one of the cool things that the city looking at redoing the web pages is we'll actually be able to get our capital improvements list up there. So the plan with 2nd Street is this project was actually planned for the fall, and then COVID got in the way. We couldn't send crews out together, so we're finally getting to this work. Next year, our plan is to go up to the top of the hill, work from Penn to Penn Avenue, continuing to replace that 18-inch water main as we move up through there and redoing the street. Our plan is to continue to move down the street all the way to C Avenue over the course of time. It's probably, a 5 or 6 year project to get all those pieces done, but you should see some progressive work going up the hill on Second Street.
Excellent. Very appreciated. Great.
Are you going to go all the way up on Second, all the way up to Miller?
Not to Miller.
But we need it up here.
Wait a second here, Marianne. We know what Miller is. Justin, I see you have your hand up.
I do.
Okay.
Have you, I know a while back they were talking with the state about maybe some improvements to Adams. And then, of course, the sidewalk or curb or the handicap thing came through. Have you heard any more? In the future, are we going to get Adams repaired? I know starting to get some pretty good large grooves going down where all the vehicles are driving.
Yeah. I haven't heard any new rumblings. I know we were scheduled to be on the docket, I think in 2020. And then when the ADA settlement came through, they pushed us off to 22. I haven't heard any rumblings that they're going to be moving through anytime soon, but I have seen them doing a lot of ADA improvements in the area, which might be an indicator they're getting ready. So hopefully we'll have a meeting with ODOT. They just got a new, so Mike Berry, who had acted as what they call the local agency liaison from ODOT to all of the cities, had retired earlier this year, and they have a couple of people moving in to fill that role as the new person trains up. And so we're just starting our communications with them to see what our fundings are looking like and building some of those new plans.
All right. Any other questions for Kyle? If not, I think Chief Bell had his hand up. So comments from you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to follow up to the vaccine discussion. I wanted to bring to your attention that on December 29th, Union County Emergency Services hosted a very well done video that Grande Hospital staff did to answer questions locally. That way we could get information out to our community from local trusted sources rather than hearing it from somewhere abroad. And it's about a 45-minute video, and it's very well done. So it's on, the video is still available. It's on Union County Emergency Services website. And if necessary, I can share the link. But I would urge you guys to take a look at it if you haven't seen it and share that information widely. But I also think that I have regular conversations with JB Brock, our emergency services manager. And as soon as we're able to widely publicize that anyone of any group that wants the vaccine, I do think we have quite a few people that are still interested in getting the vaccine. We've just had the groups that's been identified as being available to get it. So anyway, I just wanted to share those things with you guys.
Good. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Any other staff comments? I'm watching, looking. All right. City manager comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So the council is going to be kind of busy for the foreseeable future with evening meetings. We've got a joint work session next Monday night with the Planning Commission to go over the housing production strategy. And then the following Monday, the 19th, we have the annual report on tourism promotion program from the chamber. Don't forget, we've got budget hearings coming up next month. And the work on the website is getting ready to kick off. We're looking at having a first meeting to kind of discuss in more detail with the contractor, what we're envisioning, what we would like to see. So it's a couple, probably 2 to 3 month period, start to finish, to get that thing live. So we're really excited to get that going. And then one of the other things that is kind of going on right now is the state is asking for thoughts and input in regards to what to do with a bunch of money. The state has a pretty hefty surplus of dollars for a variety of reasons. Plus they have a lot of federal dollars that are coming in. And so there are a number of meetings that are talking about suggestions on, what might the priorities be and what those sorts of things look like. So just kind of be aware that there's a lot percolating in the background. I don't know that there's been a time when the state of Oregon has said we've got over $1 billion of surplus money that we have to figure out how to spend. And so it's kind of a good problem to have. And I can't think of a better time of needing to get a good infusion to try to help with economic activity in the state than now. So that's about all I wanted to touch on. So thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go counselors in order that I see you on the screen, and yours, that order may be different. Justin, you have any comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Thank you, Justin. John, comments?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thanks, John. Mary Ann?
I do. When we were talking about the money that we've had available, I was wondering, could we get a detailed report on what money we have had available and how much we have spent and what are the restrictions? I mean, it would be for the CARES program, for our own money that we had, the one that we just talked about, the loan program. I just kind of want to know where we're standing with that.
We can put, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Mary Ann?
Yep, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Gary, any questions, any comments?
No, thank you.
All right. Dave, any comments?
Yeah, just briefly, I'm gathering some more information to try and look into this idea of a science center, a STEM center here in our community. So if you have, or if you know of people who may have a vested interest in that, if you please send me an email and give me their names, I can reach out to them and contact them about, just kind of starting a discussion on that front. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Nicole, any comments?
No, I'm good tonight. Thank you.
All right. The only thing I have to say is thank you for your patience with me this evening in my communications. Sometimes things are not as stable as we would like them to be. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you all in a few weeks.
Monday night.
Bye.